I want to be clear. Look, ladies, I want to be clear. If anything in government is going to change, if we're going to protect our hair, our kids, our lives, it starts with a vote. So join Citizen She and 4910 Rosalie Productions to detangle the vote and squat up.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, Emma. Final panel.
Hi. Oh my gosh. I can't believe that this is our final panel. I can't believe that 5 days have already went over. 5 days, 6 panels.
Yes.
So because we had 2 today, and it was just kind of like, we were like, we're going to hit them good today.
Yes. But it's been such an incredible week, Emma. I will say, like, I love 4910 Rosalie Productions, but I have fallen completely in love with you guys this whole week because this has just been a wonderful partnership celebrating Black women, Black women's hair, and moving people towards voting this election cycle.
Yes, it's been really powerful. We've had so many different women from so many different backgrounds, different areas. They have different views on life, but they're all coming together for detangling the vote.
Detangling the vote, right? And we talk all the time about Black women. We're not a monolith. You can't look at one Black woman and think that's representation of all Black women.
Say it again.
Talk to me about my hair. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna look across the room. We're gonna do this because we all.
Say it again.
Yes. Also, Emma, you've been coming with the looks this week.
Listen, I told you earlier, I said my hair is going to be different because it's detangling the bowl. So I had my afro out the first day. I had the ponytail up the next day. And I said, you know what? I'm going to switch it all the way up. And I'm gonna throw on a little something for the people. But just know underneath, I'm rocking the cornrows. Okay? Nice and hydrated under here.
I love it. So we have our good friend back. I will say Professor Wendy Greene has become my official partner in crime.
She's the third co-host for this week.
She is the third co-host. Wendy, come on up here.
Hi.
And let me say, it's so funny because I don't know if you all know, Wendy and I have never met in person.
Wait,
never.
What? You lying.
This is a completely virtual friendship, phone friendship over the past few months. So this is and she has always come through, always said yes. And we've been able to support each other's work. And Wendy, you are brilliant and beautiful and everything that you purport to be, it is exactly who you are. And I'm grateful. Grateful.
Thank you for that. Well, it has, whoever knew that social media, I always say social media is a blessing and a curse, right?
Oh. Say it again.
It's a blessing, by virtue of us connecting. And so I know that I have found a lifelong sister through Facebook. Who would have ever thunk it?
Yes.
And likewise, Emma, you're now part of the family. You're part of the
Hey, I want to be a part of this family. I love it. I never would have thought that you all didn't know each other because the way that you all talk to each other and how Nia was, explaining you to me before you even got on, I was like, oh, they must be sisters from when they were 12. And you're like, no, we just met 4 months ago on Facebook. I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. We need to have a whole nother panel discussion about just connecting online. That's like a whole nother series.
Yes. And becoming empowered through these connections.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes. Is this another Citizen She 4910 week? Is this another situation happening here?
I love it. Those cornrows and things. That's what we're gonna call it.
Cornrows and connections.
Connections. Okay, we're gonna stop talking about it. And
y'all get ready.
I'm hyped.
So I asked Wendy, I said, Wendy, the last panel that we're going to do is all about Black women in the hair industry. I said, who you got? And Wendy's like, oh, I got the big dogs. Let me tell you. And so I'm so excited to bring these women up. I will say, I was not joking when I said I was fangirling these women all week, partly because they worked so hard to make sure that they could be here. They've never met me. They don't, but they believe in the work and they believe in all the pieces. And I was like, and Black women, we hold each other down. And I'm just grateful for that. And so the first woman I'm going to bring up, Main Moves Media. I love that name so much. And I was looking at videos and tutorials, and like she's doing all kinds of shows about Emmy winning, right? Emmy award winning. I mean, it's like incredible. Natasha. Hello, Natasha.
Hello. There I go. Hi, ladies.
How are you?
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Yes.
Be ready. Be ready this Friday. Natasha, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you joining us this week and doing this program with us so much.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me, Professor Wendy. Thank you so much. Thank you, Emma, for having me. Speaking of connections, I met Wendy Greene through social as well, online. And I reached out to her. I tracked her down. Yes, I did. Listen, when I saw this powerful sister speak about hair discrimination, I said, I need to know this woman.
Yes.
And the first conversation that we had on the phone, I probably was damn near tears, okay? Because I was like, everything that you're saying to me are the things that I've been trying to talk about for years. And to know that someone that was out there dedicating their whole career to ensuring our freedom, it was overwhelming. So I thank you, Professor Wendy, for even thinking of me to be on the show with all of you. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
I love that. I love
it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it.
Thank you.
So Wendy, the other woman that you introduced me to, and one thing that I appreciate so much, when Black women are in predominantly white spaces, when it comes to business and work, and showing up unapologetically as our full authentic selves and pushing other Black women to be in that same space and giving us opportunity to do that, it's always inspiring and it means a lot to me. And when you introduced us, she immediately responded, and then she worked through her own bureaucracy to ensure that she could be here. Crystal, thank you so much for joining us. Crystal is great. Like, I'm going to read this title because it's a mouthful, but it makes me feel proud to say that this Black woman holds this space. Director of Global Brand Activation and Global Communications for Estée Lauder, Crystal. And reading the story that you got there, I'm just like, dang, that's just dope.
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, you guys. It's so good to see your guys' faces. Y'all are beautiful. Thank you for having me. Natasha, same story with Professor Wendy Greene. We met in Minneapolis, actually, if you wouldn't believe, in February. And we were at a Veda on a hair panel. And I was like, why am I here on this panel? She's literally saying everything and teaching the audience all that we need to know. So, I love what you guys are doing, Nia. It's like a pleasure to meet you. Same with you, Emma. And as soon as, I saw the email, I was like, yes. And I'm glad that we worked it out. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we watch Black women on television. We watch Black women in movies, on, doing their videos, music videos. And we're like, who be doing that hair? Who be laying the women down, right? Portia, come on up here. Portia is a new friend to me as well. For 49, I met Portia through Damien and Emma for 4910 Rosalie. And I was like, man, Portia is she's dope, sister. Are we, is everything on, I just want to make sure that we're all good with audio and video, because I don't want to.
Just give us a quick second. We're going through a couple things right now. So Portia jump on in just a second.
Perfect. Y'all, Portia's been doing these Black women's hair in music videos, movies, television, and it's really, we just had a panel, Emma, talking about Black women's hair in media, right?
Yeah.
And I think what's resonated that I heard is that there's not enough Black women doing Black women's hair. And so we look so to have a Black woman that knows our hair, loves our hair, and does our hair, and we could see that representation, I think is dope. So I'm excited for this Black girl party right here that we're about to have to close it out. I know Portia, there she is. Hey, Portia. Or I think we may be a little bit further. It's okay. We're going to work it all out. This tech world, y'all. This tech world is no joke.
It's a whole new world. It's like, what is going on, babe?
I've got 4 children at home, and I said it's easier sharing a bathroom than it is sharing Wi-Fi. It's just crazy.
Look.
I love it. Well, let's go ahead and just jump into conversation, y'all. You know, one thing that I was saying, like, you know, that connects us is our hair story. I know, Natasha, when we were talking earlier, and I remember the email chain, and you said, you know, we're talking about headshots. And you said one headshot had the curly hair, and I don't know why. I just picked one. But like now I have this short crop, but like I would love to hear your hair story because you tell hair stories as a profession. And so I'd love to like kick it off with you telling us your hair story.
Okay, thank you. So my hair story starts like so many little Black girls. I didn't really think about my hair when I was little. You know, I was more into playing outside and having fun. And I remember asking my mom for a relaxer because we used to go to a pharmacy. This is pre-Target, okay? So pharmacies is where we used to shop. And they had this aisle that had box relaxers, like the PCJs and the Just For Me and all that. And I used to see the little girls on the boxes with silky ringlets and everything. And I used to get my hair pressed for special occasions, for like my first communion and things like that. And so it was really painful. And I used to get a headache immediately after and had to take a nap. And so I thought, oh, well, if I want my hair to be pretty and silky, you know, I can get a relaxer and it could be permanent. You know, I wouldn't have to go through the heat in the kitchen and burning of my ears and all that other stuff. And so I begged her for a relaxer. And finally, she took me to a salon and I got it. And when I was in college is when Lauryn Hill was a phenomenon in 1998 and 99. And I looked at her and, you know, with admiration. She was smart, she was beautiful, she was talented, she was all the things, but she was also natural. And that intrigued me because I asked myself, you know, is that possible for me? Could I be natural? And as soon as I said, I don't think so, I asked myself, well, why not? You know? And I had this discourse with myself back and forth, really questioning, why is it that I would ever feel anxious or nervous about wearing my own natural hair? And so, you know, I'm a little investigative reporter, you know, in my head or whatever. I didn't know that's what I was going to end up being, but I did ask a lot of questions since I was born. I think my first word was probably why. And so I started to ask people in my classmates. I used to ask people, my family, my friends, would you ever consider, you know, wearing your hair natural? Now, this is back in 1998, 1999. And the looks that I got, you know, people looked at me like I had 2 heads. You know, they said, why would we ever have to do that? We're about to be in a new millennium. We don't have to walk around with nappy hair anymore. So it was sort of like the relaxer was sort of this solution that it seems like everyone was looking for to get us out of these perpetual bad hair days of like our kinky, curly, coily hair, right? And when I thought about it, it kind of hurt me because the responses were not just, you know, flippant, but it was really, I realized that it came from a deep sense of our hair is not good enough to be seen. And I had to sit with that. And I had to even look at myself because I've been relaxed for so long. So I had to go within and say, well, why is it that I feel like I cannot be natural? Why do I feel like, you know, it's this big challenge, this thing that I have to overcome? I'm like, it's my hair. It's the way it grows out of my head. So I said, something else is going on. Something deeper here is going on because it's not just with me, it's with everybody that I know. And so I started to ride the train in New York City and I'm looking around and I'm like, wait, not everybody here is relaxed. Every Black woman, it has straight hair. What is going on? And so I decided to get to the bottom of it, right? And it started with me. It was my personal journey. And so I had to look at the way that I saw myself. And so I decided, I said, you know what? I think I have been bamboozled here. I think I drank the Kool-Aid I drank the Kool-Aid, and I was one of the people who believed that straight hair was better. Straight hair was more beautiful than what I had naturally. And so I decided right then and there, I was like, okay, well, I'm not doing this anymore. And I decided to take my sisters with me, because I know that if I'm feeling it, I'm not the only one, right? And so that question of, can I go natural, because I saw Lauryn Hill being her authentic self on television, right? And that made me step up on this journey to finding myself and finding my voice, really, as a Black woman in this country, and what that means, a Black woman in this world, and what that means, wearing her hair natural. And so that's really where the journey started, and it continues, because I just did the second big chop 20 years later. A few months ago. Thank you to Diane C. Bailey of Emerge, who cut my hair. I didn't know her back then. I didn't know any natural hairstylist back then. So I was just walking around with a picked out afro, because I had no idea what to do with my hair. There weren't any natural hair products. There weren't any natural hair conversations going on. There wasn't anybody I could talk to, get encouragement from. So I had to really rely on myself. And I had to really learn how to love my hair. And in this second season of my hair journey, I would say, I'm still on that journey of loving my hair. You know what I mean? It's a lot of unlearning, a lot of unpacking and deconstructing of ideas that I've held on for so long, that were taught to me because they were taught to my mom, and they were taught to her mom, and so on and so forth. And so, this is where I am right now. And I'm just so excited to get to know my hair now and see all the things that it can do. Our hair is amazing. Our hair is fascinating. It's unique. It grows towards the sun. It loves humidity. It loves the elements. It first of all, it has its own mind. It does what it wants to do. And it's sort of like me, right? Because I don't like people telling me what to do. I don't like people telling me I can't do this and I can't do that. So I listen to my hair. I respect my hair. I respect my hair. I let it be. I let my hair be. And that's my story.
Love it. I love that story. I love that story. And it was someone that said sometime during the week, I love Black women's hair because it don't lay down. And Black women don't lay down either. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't, and I love that. Crystal, when I read your resume, I feel a kindred spirit, because, as a lawyer, you can't look at my resume and figure out what I am, because how do you get to doing policy work, and you were a public defender, it's like all these things, but all of those pieces have informed me on how I show up for my work. And you being an Estée Lauder, your hair story is also your hair story. It's your work. I would love to hear from you what your story and your journey has been.
Yeah, no, for sure. And thank you, Natasha, for sharing. Just, shout out to Natasha, because we actually met before this too, which is amazing how we're all connected. But, a very similar story, I think, from being young, and my family's Ghanaian. So my hair was always, braided or in some kind of wrap or threading and different cultural styles. And I don't think it was until middle school, where, people started to be like, well, your hair is nappy and your hair is this and your hair is that. And all of these women around me all of these girls around me had a perm. And I did get my hair pressed sometimes, but I just wanted to be like them, essentially. And it's wonderful that we're in this space where we can just celebrate our hair and who we are, unapologetically. I love, melanin and Black girl magic and this natural hair care movement. But, in 7th and 8th grade, that wasn't the case. And so if you didn't have straight silky hair and you didn't have a perm, you were fighting, people talking about how kinky or nappy your hair was. And so I did the same thing. I begged and pleaded my mom for a perm, and then I got one, and then I didn't keep up with it, and a lot of my hair fell out. And I remember just wearing braids for a really, really long time and just kind of not like loving my hair and kind of having to nurse it back to, just to a healthy space. But when I got into college, it's kind of the same thing. You never really ask yourself these questions, but I went to USC for undergrad, which is only at the time that I went about 6% Black. We didn't know that because we had such strong community, but that's when you start to kind of feel like yourself and start feeling like you're okay in your own skin. So sometimes I'd wear my hair natural, sometimes I'd wear braids. I didn't really dabble in weaves at that point, but I think what the real turning point for me was in my senior year, I did an exchange program at Howard University. And it was in my senior year back in 2004. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the air. I don't know if it was being around a whole bunch of Black people, but I just made a decision like, I'm just going to be natural. And it's funny because it was before, all of the social media, there were really specific blogs that you would look at. And I remember just going down this path and being like, this is just how I'm going to show up. And I showed up back to school with an afro, and that's just who I was going to be. And so when I graduated and I was about to enter the job market, I remember my mom, I also had this piercing in my face. Like, I feel like I was just defined like this, you're just going to get all of me. And that's just what it's going to be. And I remember I got a job working for Robinson's May, and Macy's bought them, and I had a choice to relocate to New York. And I remember my mom saying to me when I was going to interview, are you going to change your hair? Are you going to stop the afro? And we just kind of looked at each other like, no, we're not. And so I started working, and I feel, blessed to have been in like retail spaces or in beauty where I do feel like I can show up as myself, or I'm just kind of unapologetic about it. Because I have best friends who work in finance or who are attorneys who don't feel like they had that, flexibility or that freedom. And that, I've always found that to be really, kind of hurtful that we can't show up as our authentic self. But I think working in beauty, I don't for a second deny the reality that people react to me different when my hair is in different styles. People can approach me differently, or people feel more comfortable approaching me, if my hair is straight, or if I have a weave, or if I, and I think that it's also been a journey of loving my hair, of figuring out what works, of like, celebrating and giving her some TLC. I will honestly say that this quarantine is, and just everything that's happened with social unrest is as difficult as it's been. It's made me be like on Zoom calls, this is what you're going to get. And this is who I am, and celebrating that. And I've been loving just continuously, figuring out and learning my hair and wearing my hair natural. But, I think when you're in the space of beauty, especially a company like Estee Lauder companies, where we've got hair brands like Aveda or like Bumble that don't necessarily know how or haven't been speaking to Black women. And right now it's interesting because everybody's very open, and Dr. Greene, just shed all the knowledge and all the light with Aveda back in February, but there's a real openness and willingness to listen, to just understand all the intricacies of Black women, how individual we are, and how like beautiful and amazing and different our hair is, and the need to really invest in the technology, the ingredients, and all of that to make products that work for our hair.
I love that. I love that so much. And I appreciate, am clear that your presence in that space is also informing how that is moving. And so I do want to center that. And I do want to say, appreciating you showing up in your full authentic self to ensure that we're represented in those spaces. I also keep hearing these hair stories about wanting a perm. I wanted a Jerry curl. I want Jerry curl. And I went, and they told my mama they were gonna have to cut my perm, and my hair was gonna be like this short. My mama told me no, and I cried. I was so angry at my mama. I was like, "You don't understand? I want that Jerry curl. That's me." So it's like somebody has the opposite. Portia. I am so grateful for you showing up in spaces doing these Black women's hair, so these Black women can look on point and on fleek when they show up for the masses, right? And like the spaces that you're in doing these Black women's hair, that's a representation that the world sees. That's what, my daughters, those are people that my daughters are looking at, and they like, oh, that's the representation of me in the world. And so I'm grateful to you for being there. But how did you get there, Portia? What is your story? What's your hair story? Portia, I think your mic is muted, Portia. I want to hear all those beautiful words. Okay. There we go.
Now?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, it's like going back and forth. I don't know what's going on. So, I moved to New York, I guess about 20 years ago, maybe. And I was always a hairstylist. I went to school, but I knew I wanted to be a hairstylist. Can you guys hear me? Because I think everyone else is muted at this point. Okay, good. So, I just knew to go to a salon where celebrities went. And that's pretty much how my career went. I just went to the places where I knew I could get that type of work. It's a harder transition, but at the same time, it's still rewarding. So for me, it was just like you kind of have to be in it to win it. So if I didn't go to those places to work and just kind of like deal with whatever came with it, I wouldn't be able to get those types of clients. I can't hear.
You can hear.
Okay.
I think it
I
may
can
have
hear you now.
frozen
Yeah.
again a little bit. There you go. There you go. Because I want to hear this.
Yeah.
Are you?
I was like,
Yep. There we go. I think we're good.
oh, good. Okay. Yeah. So, I know for me, it's like, I have everything. It runs the gamut. So I may have, natural hair clients. I may have weaves. I may have extensions. I may have wigs. It runs the gamut. But it's funny because I don't think that it was ever a big deal. Like however you chose to wear your hair was just how we wore our hair. I'm from Virginia, so I don't know if it's a regional thing, but like where I'm from, no one put a lot of emphasis on anything. Basically, as long as your hair was done, as long as you put some type of effort into it, it wasn't really a big deal on whether your hair was natural or whether your hair was relaxed or whether your hair. So yeah, some of them had Jerry curls. I actually wanted a Jerry curl too, but I had the same issue. I would have had to cut too much of my hair off. So I think now for me, like I've gotten so I kind of dictate what the clients end up doing. So I usually don't relax their hair anymore unless they have to. Like basically just for like short styles, and even then I won't do like the top, just the sides and the back, or it's like on a needed basis. But I don't know. I think it's a good time because you could kind of just do whatever you want to do at this point. But also too, I'm in a different type of business where, like, I may do my hair this way, then it may be. Basically, I've had every style that you guys have. It all just depends on which era you find me. 10 years ago, we'd be like, wait, didn't you have? It all just depends. Like people are like, wait, you're blonde now. I'm like, yeah. It's just, yeah. I get to have all the fun because it is what I do for a living. So I let people know that you can have freedom to do whatever you want to do. And I mean, everyone's hair looks great actually.
I love that. I actually have I just wanted to point something out about everybody in there, what they had said. Crystal, you had spoke on your domestic exchange. I went to Spelman and I did a domestic exchange at Loyola Marymount in California. So we kind of swapped coasts. And at that PWI, I actually felt like I found myself like a little bit more. I was like, okay, I'm gonna rock my hair a little bit more. I don't want to try to fit in. I don't want to try to feel like I need to just lessen my, blackness or my black girl magic. It's like, no, just because you might feel offended because I'm out here being powerful doesn't mean anything. So I kind of felt like even more empowered when I did that switch. So I kind of love how you said when you went to Howard, you were like, I'm wearing my hair natural. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. And then to Natasha, I love how you said that, you had spoke about how you were in your era of growing up, you all more so went from going natural in an introduction to a perm. For me, I was already in that perm era where all my friends had perms and I'm the black girl with natural hair. So I just thought that was very interesting because everybody had it. Everybody had their perms. And I'm like, okay, I didn't want it. and I didn't do it. And I kind of spoke about it earlier. I did get my hair straightened, but I was just kind of like that opposite. So it's really interesting to even think that there was a time where, women were like, we don't have to do that anymore. It's nappy. And then I got really excited when natural hair movement started to come back, because like we said, it's YouTube tutorial videos. And now I'm like, where were these at when I was like 5 and 7? My mom up here put my hair in braids, and y'all doing tutorials now. So I'm really excited about that. And then Portia, when she basically said, I'm from North Carolina, so on the East Coast or just in the South general, it's like it must be done. So whether it was getting my hair done at the salon or going to have my braids, or my grandma burning my, burning my ears like Natasha, like it has to be done no matter what it looked like. So I kind of wanted to point those things out, where in all of you all's stories, I kind of saw myself in each of those things. And I'm just really excited and happy to know that there are probably so many other people who are watching this who have seen themselves in your story. So I definitely want to say thank you for saying that, because it kind of just makes me like, okay, I'm not alone. That's all I wanted to say.
Yes, I love that. And thank you, Emma, for that. Like, I appreciate, yes, because I can hear pieces of myself in all those stories too. I will also say, so I think that there are 2 degrees of separation between Wendy Greene and everybody else in the world. I mean, it's like,
yeah.
And that 1 degree is because you're still stalking her social media and you hadn't gotten to her yet. That's all. But all of our conversations, Wendy, we talk about hair, we talk about advocacy, we talk about the legal work, we talk about all the pieces. But I don't think we really talked about your hair story.
You're right. I don't think we have, actually. Well, actually, to the point that you and Emma and Nia just made, you Nia just made.
It's Friday, Wendy.
It's been a long day. Let me just tell you. But to the point, I saw myself in everybody's story. Actually, to Portia's point about being blonde, and one day you're this and one day you're that. You have different styles. I've been blonde too, and I love my blonde. You can see my little blonde streak.
Yeah.
A little bit. And I've also written about Black women with blonde hair and the discrimination they have faced in the workplace, in part because my aunt was born with blonde hair. And so, and then for me, listening to Crystal's story about going to DC and just really kind of like being in like the Black Mecca, not only just Howard, just being in DC and the real everybody, not everybody, but so many people there. And I was there almost at the same time. I actually moved back to DC in 2005 from Houston. And so that's where I really figured out for myself that I had been in an abusive relationship with my hair for nearly 25 years. And so I would relax or do extreme heat styling, and my hair would grow. And then it would start to break off on one side. And then I'd have to cut off and then let it grow back again, right? And then finally I was like, I used to think, oh, it's because of the perms, the different types of perms. But it was really my hair can't take it. It just can't. And so it finally dawned on me, I think for my 29th birthday, and that we're not doing this anymore. For your 30th birthday, you're going to be free. You're going to be free of these chemicals. You're just going to do this wash and go, and whatever and however it happens, whatever it looks like, that's how you're going to go. And you're going to go to, and you're going to have your birthday celebrations with your renewed do. Because it's not a new do, because I used to have this do. Because I will tell you, as a child, my favorite hairstyle, they were my Afro puffs. And I love my hair in braids with my beads. I remember my first grade picture where I was a little snaggletooth, and I think that's the best picture ever with my beads. And then I remember the time I wanted a Jerry curl too. But thank the Lord, I went to the hair salon and saw the process, because my cousins had Jerry curls. 8 hours of those rollers, and the process, you got to get under the dryer and all that heat and all. I said, oh no. So I never wanted to do that, after that moment. But and so I've worn it all. I've had straight with relaxers, with flat irons, to blonde hair, to even red hair, which doesn't look good on me, but had that. I've had the short curly do's, the big big dudes, and now the locks, the full locks that have been a lifesaver, especially in hair deserts where there's no one like you, Portia, who's able to do my hair. So, and shout out to my hairstylist Tina in South Carolina who does it.
Hey, Tina.
I love it. I love it. And I'm loving all these hair stories. And I do want to take a moment to pause, because one thing that we have worked really hard at is putting together some hair stories. I'm sure you are a kindred spirit to telling hair stories, Natasha, because that is literally the work that you do. And so we put together a few of our own hair stories. We have a docu-series called Free to Be Me, Free to Be Free. And so we are going to play, one of our videos for you guys that we were able to put together with 4910 Rosalie Productions and Gus Bennett.
Oh, if you can hear my voice, the stories she would tell. My bush dances to the rhythm of our ancestors. You might call them plants. My hair not defines me, but it's like a symbol for like who I am as a person. It shows that I'm proud. I can be, it's versatile, so I can do just about anything. My bush stands tall, like a beanie Rosa inherited. My hair gives me courage. My hair allows me to be who I am. My bush reminds me that I am a queen like Coretta. Us queens are the only ones with strands like these. Be free to be whoever you want to be, and color, like I'm in color now because I love the color purple and it's royal, and I want to feel I'm important, I'm beautiful in whatever state my hair is, whether it's going white or it stays purple or red or whatever color that I choose. That you shouldn't judge someone by your hair. Good, bad, indifferent, judgment, non-judgment, nothing stops me from being my authentic self. And I pride myself for showing up in spaces as my authentic self, because it's a very brave thing to do. And I think it's something that women that look like me struggle with. And I want them to know that I'm the example of what it looks like to be yourself, even in the face of adversity. When you see me, hair is all you see, but she is my crown, my crown, my crown that covers me. Oh, if you can hear my bush, the stories she would tell.
Oh, thank you so much. Damian D. Smith, 4910 Rosalie Productions, creative director of that piece. So grateful for that. Kiana Malone is the poet in that piece. She actually gifted us that poem for this piece. We were, listening. She's like, I got some. She said, what about this? And we're like, that one. So thank you for that. Gus Bennett is the photographer, took 120 photographs of Black women and girls and their hair. And we've been displaying them all week and celebrating the Black women and girls that came out for that. So thank you to everybody who worked hard to put that whole docuseries and all those pieces together. Because every time I watch it, also the little girl that was doing that's my baby, so just really, really proud. I'm also really proud of the stories behind the hair. And I kind of want to talk to each of you about that, because, we talk about the hair, but there's so many stories behind the hair that we hear from Black women when we're at work, or Natasha, when you're telling your stories, or Portia, when those women are in your chair, right? And the stories that are coming out as you're taking care of their hair, right? Wendy, when you're advocating, right? The stories that are behind the hair. I would love for us just to have a general discussion about the stories behind our hair, because it's the hair, but it's the hair. Portia, like when those women when you're at the salon, what's it like working in that salon and having those women come and sit in that chair and like tell you about their lives? What is that like?
It's basically like being a therapist.
Mhm.
So the thing that, well, I guess it's been over 15 years now that I've had my salon in New York City, and the women really have to trust you because they're trusting you with a lot. Your hair means a lot to you. So I don't think for a lot of people they understand how important it is for Black women. The relationship with their stylist is it's a real thing. As far as like we take secrets to the grave sometimes. But I know for me, it's like a lot of times I can kind of dictate what they end up doing to their hair. But I know for a lot of people, it's really a trust thing. So you have to be able to trust your stylist. And like I said, it doesn't matter what kind of look you're getting, what style you're getting. It's really just about, just making sure your hair is taken care of and making sure that it's healthy. And that's what I try to promote to make sure that, you're always going to look good. You're definitely going to look good, but it's much better and your styles last when your hair is healthy. So that's what I just try to promote and make sure that my clients have healthy hair. The pandemic was really hard on the clients and their hair. So we're all like trying to get everybody back to restore to where they used to be because, they were doing it for themselves for so long. I wasn't working. So unfortunately we're like in the repair stages now. But again, like I said, it has to be like a trusted relationship. Otherwise, I guess I have a lot of say so over, how these women will end up looking and how they feel actually more how they feel than how they look actually, now that I think about it.
I love that. Natasha, you're a storyteller. That is the profession, and I know that, or I can assume. I'm not gonna say I know, but I can assume that as you're telling these stories about women's hair, I know what pushes me to do this work is because we're so much more than our hair, but everything that we do, everything that we are, it falls under our hair. So much of it, and I know that you're getting so much. You're telling those stories to get that out as well. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the stories and like the feeling and the reasoning behind the reverberation of the stories that you're telling?
Wow. It's very deep. So I am a television producer by trade, right? And I knew for a long time that I wanted to create content around natural hair because I knew it was so important to us. And I think for a lot of people, when they hear that I do natural hair content, they think that, the first thing that probably comes to mind is, the aesthetic of it, like styling of it and the way it looks. For me, based on my story, right? I know that natural hair for us is deeper than that. As Black women, our hair, just like the video said, tells our story, right? The story of Black women's hair is the story of Black women, period. And I've had shows with Professor Greene. We talked about hair discrimination, and I don't want to make it seem like our hair story is all negative, because our experiences are varied, right? As Black people in general, but for the most part, if we think about our relationship to our hair, it's very complicated. It's a complicated relationship that I think that needs to be unpacked. Black women have a lot of unpacking to do. We have a lot of, and men, right? It's not just women, and children. Like we have to really think about how we relate to our hair and where that relationship started and why is it the way that it is, right? It comes from our history, right? We cannot separate our hair from our history. I mean, I wish we could, but we can't. And I think that part of doing that, the separation from that, would be the healing process. And that is why I'm here, because I know that when it comes to Black women, I'm just going to keep it to Black women, there's a lot of healing that has to happen within ourselves in order for us to move forward. And so these are the conversations that I have. So I'm not a hairstylist, right? A lot of people think because I'm in the hair industry in this way that I do hair, but I don't. But I did have a natural hair makeover show. At least that's what we thought it was when we started, right? This was a few years ago before I started. Actually, no, this was within Main Moves, but I partnered with someone else to create this natural hair makeover series because we knew a lot of women had anxiety about transitioning to natural. So we wanted to elevate the voice of the hairstylist, because for a long time, with the natural hair community was very DIY. They were just doing everything themselves, and there wasn't a lot of professionals on YouTube. That was the platform that was big when the natural hair community exploded, right, online, and there wasn't a lot of professional advice there. And so I wanted to amplify the voices of these stylists because I knew that they had the information that we didn't have. So again, another thing that is lacking is education about our hair, right? People have been going through a difficult time during quarantine because they had no idea how to do their natural hair. A lot of people haven't even seen their texture, in such a long time. And so we have to look at that, right? Now we have to actually sit and think, now, why is it that so many Black women don't know how to do their own hair, right? Or don't even know how to manipulate their own texture or care for it, right? It's because we have to look at the relationship we've had with our hair. A lot of it has had to do with hiding our hair, not liking our hair, not understanding our hair. And so all that is connected to our history, and we have to really look at that. And these stories that I tell really go into going within and having that inner dialogue with ourselves, because we already have it. We're just not paying attention. We already have a dialogue with our hair, right? And a lot of the times when it comes to our natural texture, it's not a positive conversation that we have with ourselves. If we actually listen, because that's what I do as an interviewer, I listen to people, right? And so I know that when I talk to women, and this is going back to my story, when I interviewed people on the street about would you ever go natural, the feedback that I got really told the story of how we really felt about ourselves. And sadly, 20 years later, it's not that much different. I mean, we're getting better. I don't want to say that we haven't made progress. We have, but we have a long way to go. And it's not just how we feel about our hair, it's how the larger society feels about our hair too, right? But again, everything starts on the inside. So as long as we're okay here, we'll be okay outside. So the conversation that I foster with people is really a conversation with yourselves, with yourself. Why do I feel this way about my hair? How do I feel about my hair? How do I pay attention to it? And doing your hair is part of self-care. It's really about how you feel about yourself. I know a lot of people think self-care is like, going to a spa or doing your nails and stuff like that. That's cool. But self-care is how do you take care of yourself, really, right? How you talk to yourself. How do you feel about yourself? And so this is all the basis of the stories. And I know the power of media. That's why I chose this medium to share these stories, because I know it's powerful. I mean, look at what Lauryn Hill did for me. She said she just her thinking about and being intentional about the images that she put forth and the messages she put in her music had such a profound effect on so many people, and that's media, right? Music, television, movies, books, magazines. The images that we constantly see causes us to see ourselves in a way, or if we're not even represented, to feel a way about not even being seen. And so I understand the power of media and testimony and sharing your story, and how that can spark something in someone else and inspire someone else. And so that's why I take this very seriously.
I love that. Oh, Natasha, I love that. I love that. Now, and like real talk, like my next move, the next main move is like sit there and like binge main moves for the next couple of days. Just know, I'm gonna be stuck like I stuck Wendy and like be doing main moves all day.
I would love that.
Right. And it's happening. It's happening. Then the email, you're like, what? That was dope. Crystal, your official title, global brand ambassador, but like you do so much more and so much intentional work with Black folks and so much intentional work with Black folks in the industry, right? Like at Estée Lauder, like you have like that incubus in all of those spaces. Like I would love to hear, because you think about Estée Lauder, you think about hair, and you think about just the brand. You think about, did I get that shampoo? But there's so much more behind it. And there's people like you at the helm ensuring that we're seen, that we're heard. But like also like these other spaces exist. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, for one, when people think Estee Lauder, they definitely just think of like the makeup brand, but Estee Lauder Companies has, almost like 30 different brands. So MAC Cosmetics and Bobby and Origins and Becca and Tom Ford Beauty and Clinique. And so, there are so many different brands. I entered the company through MAC Cosmetics, which, for a lot of us is like the day one prestige Black girl brand. But I think, what Portia was saying about just the trust part of the relationship with our hair. And I think even Natasha speaking on the relationship with our hair, when you think about a beauty company, the hair brands that we have are Aveda, right? Or Bumble and Bumble. And for so long, I think that so many beauty companies, so many brands just have not really paid attention or understood the relationship that we have with our hair. And so a lot of the work that we do, so I have my day job and my official role is really to focus on the company brand, Estee Lauder Companies, and coming up with programming and activation that reinforces our cultural values. But I also head up our Black Employee Resource Group, which is called Noble, the network of Black leaders and executives. And we have a business alignment part of our organization where we specifically partner with brands so that we can share those stories and so we can make sure that they're being really authentic about the way that we're speaking or they're speaking to us. So, when you talked about trust, Portia, it made me think of this like co-creation lab we had with our Bumble and Bumble brand, where we literally got all these Black women in a room from Noble, sat around the table with wine and food with the global president of Bumble and Bumble to share our stories and say, it's not just about making the products and putting in the ingredients that we want. You need to understand the history behind our hair, to Natasha's point. Like, you need to understand that like Black people were brought over, that, in order to assimilate into, American society, like that's when we started to press our hair all the way up to like Black liberation and the Afro and like what that meant. And then our own personal relationship, and I remember one of the things that I said at the end was like, so many Black girls, so many women, probably every woman around this table has cried at some point about our hair. Like our hair is deeply personal. Like it is a relationship of trust. It is sometimes a relationship of frustration. Sometimes it is, celebrating. But if you don't understand like why we are all up in arms when, a brand might say something that's not right, or we're not represented properly, or you make a product, Professor Greene, one of my favorite things when we were at Aveda is the Howard University students. So there's this like really amazing program and we had like 20 Howard University students and they were like, if you put all hair types on your product, I know it's not for me, point blank, period. And they're like, wow. And it's like, you have to recognize, I don't want you to just include me for the sake of including me. I don't want you to just be like, we made this product and you can use it too. I need you to understand and respect my differences. I need you to, in the same way that, this industry is, so old, like 1950s, I think 1946 is like when the Estee Lauder brand first came to be. There's so much technology, there's so much investment in selling, these products, and it's a very successful industry. And so I think for a long time, they haven't had to pay attention and really, but like you have the wherewithal, the resources, the money to make the investment, particularly in Black women. And so I think it's a beautiful moment because we're sharing our stories and saying that you have to do that, and so a lot of the work that I do outside of my day-to-day, like, I work on, civic engagement content. So all these, why I vote videos that you've seen come out, and our time off to vote policy, but all the way to like inclusion and diversity events and things like that. But a big part of, what we do is just partnering very closely with our brands. And it's really, sometimes it's really fun. They're so open, they'll be like, Crystal, like, what do you think? Is it appropriate? How does she look? And they're very thoughtful. The Black girl should not be behind the white girl. I cut, they cut part of one of the girls' head off, and I'm like, you cannot cut off her afro. Like, there's a willingness to listen, but down to the details. And I think the biggest thing is really the education and sharing stories, aside from the work part of it. Like, even when I change my hair, when we were in the office, it's going to be a 30-minute conversation about what I did, what is this a weave, is this not, like, we're gonna, so there's the macro part of it too, but I am very adamant about like also sharing personal stories, like, and the personal process behind my hair. I definitely gotten the, can I touch it? Can I, all of this and that. And I always look at intent. I'm not always bothered by it. I welcome people to ask the questions and to actually learn. I mean, if you're really coming to just be like all up in it, and that's a different story, but right. But I think that, sharing the stories and letting people understand how personal this is and how deep this really is. Like, we've cried tears. We have, been so happy with like, it affects how I feel. It affects me feeling beautiful. It is, like that video says, it is my crown, and having people understand that it's that deep.
Absolutely. Crystal, I love that. And like, there's also like, I'm also going to be like, stalking you a little bit on back end with some of those voting videos. We'll talk about that, at some point, because there's so much kindred spirit in this whole space. I love it. Also, like, I don't know why I forgot Estée Lauder and Clinique. That's, because that's my brand. That I've been wearing Clinique since I was little, and that the soap is the only one that's safe for my face. And so
that's
like,
good to know. I'm gonna send you some. I'll get your address afterwards so we can talk to the brand and get you some products.
I love you. Black women, look out for Black women. I appreciate you, Crystal. Thank you. I also want to uptick all of this to you, Wendy. And I want you to understand why your work means so much to all of us. Because all of these stories, from Porsche talking about being in the salon, Crystal talking about the brand ambassador, Natasha talking about the stories, and Emma talking about, the space that she connects. Our hair is a trait of our race. The way we feel about our hair, the way we interact and react with our hair, the way other people interact and react to our hair, and its impact on not just how we feel about ourselves, but our ability to work and make money, our ability to take care of our health, our ability to navigate this world safely and equitably. It is a trait of our race. And so you pushing legislation and making sure that it's not just a cute conversation, but that it is policy. And if you don't get it, cool, it's law. And it's like, I want you to understand, when we talk about the degrees of separation and like the appreciation for the work, it is all of this that we've talked about. This is why it's so important to us. And so, it's the gratitude is very real. It's very tangible and palatable. And I love when I talked to Emma, after we did that first conversation on Monday, Emma's like, nah, I see they people working to like make sure that what I know intrinsically to be true actually becomes a reality. And so I really want to just let you know how much we appreciate that work that you're doing, Wendy.
Well, thank you so much. I just have to, I know we're almost out of time, so I just want to say honestly, at the center of my work is not just, just trying to push law or trying to push legislation, but at the center of that is Black women's experiences. I really want to center Black women's stories and our experiences, our journeys, because honestly, I think if we think through the lens and really fully understand and appreciate our journey and our stories and our experiences, and then those things turn into policy, they turn into law, it not only helps us, it helps everybody. And so that's really, at the heart of my work. And starting from a very early age, I knew when I wanted to do civil rights activism that I wanted Black people to be at the center of it, but even more specifically, Black women and girls. And I just thank you for your stories, because in the work that I do, I tell your stories. You communicate those stories to me. I've experienced them through this body, and continuing to experience it through this body. Because as I think about my hair journey a little bit more, every time I probably, our hair tells our story. And every time I probably changed my hair, especially in my natural states, from, fro to big fro to short blonde curly fro to like looking like yours, Natasha, to trying out for the first time in my life, not having my own hair, in terms of the shades on the side. And I've turned into Wakanda Wendy. Every time I do that, I know that every single step of the way, it's been an exemplification of the courage and the confidence that I was building within myself, to ultimately be my most authentic self. And that's what I want for everyone. And that's why I do the work that I do. So everybody can show up in all the spaces, personally, professionally, educationally, out there in society, as their most authentic.
I love that. And I mean, and that's, drop the mic, I love it. So we are at I want to do one last thing. I want to do one last thing with you guys, and it's a little bit of homework, but we're gonna make it happen. So every Thursday, Citizen She gets Black women that we love to write love letters to other Black women. We put it out in the world. We call it Love Letters to Black Women. I would love each of you to give one sentence of love to other Black women from the heart. And that's the only thing that we ask from the love letters. We've gotten poems, we've gotten all kinds of pictures, whatever. The only thing that we ask is that comes from the heart. And so I'm asking each of you, as we're ending this Detangling the Vote in this last panel, I would love for each of you all to give your love statement to Black women as we enter this new phase of our lives, because I feel like we're going to win so much more and so much greater. And, the reality is I tell my team, I tell my staff, we got to walk as if we've already won. And so that's what I'm challenging all Black women to do. So I am asking you all for your love statements. Emma, since I'm going to start with you, family goes first, that's just how it goes,
Yes, I was getting it prepared in my mind. Real simple. To my Black woman, you are loved, you are powerful, you're able to accomplish any and everything, but you can have a sister to do it with you, so y'all both can do it together. That's gonna be my
I love that. I love that, Emma. Wendy, I told you, say first time you're a guest, second time you're family. This is your third, fourth time, Wendy. So,
Okay. Well, to all the Black women in the world, I love you, and you are more than enough.
Thank you, Wendy. Natasha.
To my Black women, my sisters, queens, you are love. You are the very essence of love. I love you. We all love you. It comes from deep inside. Harness that power, because that power is love. At the very core of it, it is love. And it is powerful, and it can move mountains. So believe in yourself and move forward with that love in everything that you do.
Thank you so much, Natasha, for that. Portia, I'm going to bring you up here. What you got to say, Portia?
I'd like to say to my Black women, just remember who your ancestors were. For us, a lot, back in the day, they used to cornrow hair, but they were cornrow like the path to freedom. That's where the different patterns came from. Or, they would put like dry goods, like maybe rice or something, so that they could eat, inside of the cornrow. So we have so much to take from our ancestors. I think it's important to remember where we came from. We came from such a strong people that you know, whatever you have, whatever you're facing, any type of adversity, it can be, we can overcome it, because you could see just from how we're our ingenuity, what we've been able to accomplish, and you know, in the worst of times, you know, what we've been able to accomplish, you know, that we're resilient, and we will always come out victorious.
Thank you so much, Portia. I love that so much. Crystal, what say you, Crystal?
Yeah, honestly, I would say to all my Black women, like, you are divine. Like, we are divine. I was watching this documentary called Invisible Portraits, and this woman said, I feel like Black women are the closest beings, like, to God. Like, I literally think that we are the most beautiful creation on this earth. And the fact that we can walk this earth with dignity, with grace, and such resilience, despite what we've been through, in my opinion, is divine. And so I would say, like, we are so divine, Black women, and we are so much more powerful than we could even know or imagine.
I love that, Chris. Oh my God. I'm almost in tears. Okay, I'm not gonna say I'm almost in tears. I am in tears. This whole week has been incredible and beautiful. It's also been a manifestation of exactly what you all have said. You know, Black women saying yes, Black women showing up, Black women being unapologetic, Black women holding it down, Black women living in their beauty and their brilliance. That's what this whole week has been about. And I am just, you know, after the last few weeks, you know, the weight has been heavy. And Black women holding other Black women, it feels lighter. Been able to immerse myself in love and brilliance. And I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful that that's what my babies got to experience this week. You know, we don't often get to tell Black babies it's gonna be okay. And they went to bed this week comforted because Black women let them know it's gonna be okay, baby. They got a whole bunch more aunties, and I am grateful to you for being a part of that circle. So thank you so much for showing up tonight. Thank you for being here. Thank you for detangling the vote with us. And we're gonna show up. We're gonna show up. I mean, we always show up. We're gonna show up. We know what we're gonna do. You know, everyone's rested all on our shoulders. We're gonna show up, but we're gonna show up unapologetic. And then the next day, we're gonna show up with an agenda, because we're gonna demand that they start pushing policy that reflects our actual needs, and that the things that are happening in Black women, the way we live right now, we don't need to anymore. And we're gonna show up as an army. That we're gonna show up as on November 3rd, but November 4th, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna show up as an even bigger army. And they ain't ready. They're ready for November 3rd, but they ain't ready for November 4th, because we're gonna start pushing something bigger and greater so that us, our babies, and our families and our futures can be so much better and brighter. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Great.
Yes, on a wonderful, wonderful week.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. Oh,